I am Ynir.
The old one.
Well, not as old as all that.
Hello to all the classic people that are returning. I'm glad you're back. I want to welcome any new visitors. Today on Classic Movie Review, we are taking on Krull 1983. Quite frankly, I don't know how well known this movie is. Most people tend to have a faint glimmering when you mention the glaive, but that's about it. Krull is a perfectly positioned film that features alien attacks and a medieval world, fitting neatly in and among other outer space films like Star Wars 1977 and The Last Starfighter 1984, and fantasy films like Excalibur 1981, Dragon Slayer 1981, and Ladyhawke 1985. Although this movie featured many people who would go on to be stars, I'm going to venture that this film did not do better because it may be too British. This is despite the male lead being American and the female lead's voice being dubbed by an American actress. This movie is also a perfect example of the hero's journey. On IMDb.com, the film had a pretty weak 6.1 rating. The film fared no better on Rotten Tomatoes, with 32% on the tomato meter and only 51% audience approval. Janet Maslin, a film critic at the New York Times, said on July 29, 1983, quote, "Krull is a gentle, pensive sci-fi adventure film that winds up a little too moody and melancholy for the Star Wars set, though that must be the audience at which it was aimed. It concerns a handsome prince, his beautiful bride, and a band of sidekicks, something like Robin Hood's, not to mention an enchanted movable mountain and a little golden gizmo that has magical powers. Before the princess vanishes, she and Colwyn indulge in some pretty unexpectedly grown-up flirting, which is part of what distinguishes Krull from some of the other kiddie-oriented competition. There are also characters who speak resignedly about death, and a bizarre but moving sequence about long-lost love. And the mostly British cast performs with more delicacy than the usual gee-whiz adventure films requires. However, Krull is muted and unempathetic too, and for all its unusual touches, it doesn't fully feel like anything new. There are hints of other movies from Star Wars to Dragon Slayer in the screenplay by Stanford Sherman. Indeed, the story of a young hero aided by an older mentor, surrounded by a band of funny-looking sidekicks as he quests after something that will save his kingdom from ultimate destruction, is a story that's being told with some regularity these days. However, Mr. Sherman also incorporates some wit and intelligence in the proceedings, and Mr. Yates works hard to bring understatement and dimensions to the material. His Krull, which is decorous and dignified throughout, has more depth and excitement." Unquote. Actors.
Right, and I'm a Shakespearean actor.
Ken Marshall played Prince Colwyn, who Minty from YouTube calls Dennis Quaidish. Marshall was born in 1950 in New York City.
I'm walking here! I'm walking here!
He attended the University of Michigan and Juilliard before becoming an actor. He first received wide attention in the television miniseries Marco Polo 1982 and 83. With Krull 1983, it was expected that Marshall would have a spectacular career. However, it was more modest with only 24 film and television credits. His last credit was in 2003. Lizette Anthony was Princess Lisa. Anthony was born in England in 1963. Both her parents were actors and she started working at their theater at the age of 10. By the age of 14, Anthony was in the National Youth Theater. She began working on television in 1982 and was in Krull 1983. She returned to television and music video work with an occasional movie. In 1988, she posed nude for Playboy to try and shake off her aura of sweetness. She played Angelique, the famous redhead witch on television's Dark Shadows in 1991. Anthony was also in Husbands and Wives 1992. Following this, she worked nude in The Advocate 93 and Save Me 1994. Anthony was in a couple of horror spoofs, Dracula Dead and Loving It 1995 with Leslie Nielsen, and Dr. Jekyll and Mrs. Hyde 1995, a gender bender as with Switch 1991. Anthony continues to be active on television and in movies. She owns a production company named Barnaby Pictures. One of her movies that I've never heard of before that I discovered while researching this film is Strippers vs. Werewolves 2012. Great title. I wonder if it's better than Strippers vs. Zombies 2008. Freddie Jones played the Obi-Wan Kenobi role of Yinar as the guide to the young prince. Jones was born in England in 1927. He worked as a laboratory assistant before beginning work in amateur theater. To further his career, Jones began studying at Rose Broford's College of Speech and Drama. He began working in repertory theater and eventually became part of the Royal Shakespeare Company. His first film was Marat Sade, 1967. He later gave an outstanding performance as the monster in Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed, 1969. This prolific character actor continued in other performances such as Kidnap, 1971, Anthony and Cleopatra, 1972, Son of Dracula, 1973, Old Dracula, 1974, All Creatures Great and Small, 1975, Zulu Dawn, 1979, with just about all the other English actors, The Elephant Man, 1980, The Amazing Fighter Jet movie Firefox, 1982, Krull, 1983, The Ship Sailed On, 1983, Dune, 1984, Firestarter, 1984, Young Sherlock Holmes, 1985, Eric the Viking, 1989, Wild at Heart, 1990, and The Count of Monte Cristo, 2002. Jones died in 2019. Alan Armstrong was in the role of Torquil. Armstrong was born in England in 1946. His English teacher got him interested in acting. He was eventually recruited for the National Youth Theater. Armstrong worked extensively on television beginning in 1963. His first movie was the neo-noir Get Carter, 1971. Armstrong has a distinctive face and often plays characters that fail or are frustrated. He is known for A Bridge Too Far, 1977, which was a requirement for most English actors, The French Lieutenant's Woman, 1981, Krull, 1983, Patriots Game, 1992, Braveheart, 1995, as a betraying Scottish noble, The Saint, 1997, Sleepy Hollow, 1999, The Mummy Returns, 2001, Van Helsing, 2004, and Aragon, 2006. Other actors having small parts include Liam Neeson as Keegan. Yeah, that guy with special skills. And Robbie Coltrane as Ruin. Yep, Hagrid was here too. David Batley was in the role of Ergo the Magician. Don't you know who David Batley is? Well, he was Charlie Bucket's teacher that couldn't believe Charlie had only eaten 2 Wonka bars. Princess Lisa's voice was dubbed by American actress Lindsay Krause. The voice work was uncredited. Lindsay was excellent in Slapshot 1977. Story.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
Following the credits and a few shots of the glaive, more about that later, a big, mountainy rock fortress thingy is moving through space to the sound of ethereal music. The fortress closes in on a planet with 2 suns and possibly 2 moons, Krull. The fortress descends to the planet's surface, burying itself partially in the ground. Yinar, Freddie Jones, gives narration that the beast within the Black Fortress and his army of slayers have enslaved many worlds. The Black Fortress opens and horse-mounted slayers charge forth. They are armed with 2-pronged forks that we later find fire deadly bolts of energy. These weapons are very similar to those Ra's army used in Stargate 1994. Yinar continues that he doesn't know if the prophecy is true, but it is told that a girl of ancient name shall become queen. She will choose a king, and they will rule Krull. Their son will rule the galaxy. Princess Lisa, Lisette Anthony, is in her father's castle. The castle is busy with urgent military actions. Lisa is waiting for her betrothed to arrive when her father comes to talk to her about the wedding. She is waiting for Prince Colwyn, Ken Marshall. Lisa and Colwyn's fathers are old enemies, and he is unsure of the alliance. The father tells Lisa that with the world under attack by the Slayers, it will be hard for Colwyn to make it through to their castle. He also says that he sent men to help.
If it were anyone but Turrell's son.
Colwyn is a great fighter.
Good fighters make bad husbands.
Colwyn and a small band of men are riding hard to reach the castle. Colwyn's group makes it to the castle where Lisa's father mentions that he sent 20 men to help.
We sent to you for help. None came.
20 men were dispatched to you.
We lost 300 getting here.
Colwyn's father replies that he lost 300 men on the route. While the fathers snipe at each other, Colwyn and Lisa say they chose to marry and have an alliance. Colwyn and Lisa meet and they have genuine affection. The wedding begins at moonrise. The alliance between the two kingdoms is agreed to. Slayers are shown riding hard through the night. Einar hides in the woods and watches the slayers pass. In the wedding vows, Colwyn extinguishes fire in a pot of water. He says it will not return except from the hand of the woman he chooses as his wife. Lisa reaches into the water and takes the fire out. Before Colwyn can complete the ceremony, the slayers attack the castle. Colwyn sends Lisa to what he assumes will be safety. Although the men of Krull fight bravely, there are simply too many slayers. A team of slayers captures Lisa. Colwyn is putting up a great fight in the other room until he hears Lisa calling his name. His loss of focus causes his father's death, and Colwyn goes down with a glancing shot to the chest. The slayers go back to the Black Fortress with the captured princess. Just a side note from Bad Guys 101, if you want to stop the prophecy, just kill the princess right here and be done.
I have a gun in my room. You give me 5 seconds, I'll get it. I'll come back down here. Boom! I'll blow their brains out.
Einar rides to the castle where dead men are strewn about. He takes the royal necklace from Colwyn's dead father. The necklace has the symbol of the glaive. He begins to treat Colwyn, who is wounded but not dead. Einar is the old one and has come down from the granite mountain to help. Colwyn gets a little whiny at this point, believing he can't continue. Einar rages that Colwyn is a king and his kingdom may be greater than he thinks. Colwyn mans up and wants to go find Lisa. He says he will find the needed help on the way to save Lisa. Einar takes Colwyn high into the mountains to search for the glaive. The glaive is a symbol of power, but Einar says it can be a powerful weapon. He says that the glaive can only be controlled by the right man. Colwyn heads up to the top of the mountain alone. He has to dodge avalanches of boulders and do some technical free climbing. The cave at the top is lava-filled and small rocks continue to fall. Colwyn sees the glaive floating in a pool of lava. He overcomes his fear and reaches in to retrieve the weapon. It is a 5-bladed throwing star. In the Black Fortress, the beast tells Lisa that he will be marrying her. Colwyn returns to Einar with the glaive. Einar begins to lay out their problems. Each sunrise, the Black Fortress moves to a new location on the planet. Einar says he knows how to find the Black Fortress by seeking the vision of the blind Emerald Seer. But Colwyn says the Seer's location is also not known. Einar says he knows the way and they head out. That night, as they rest by a river, a comet shoots into the water. It turns out to be Ergo the magician, David Batley, a very clumsy magician. When Ergo tries to turn Colwyn into a goose, the spell goes back on him. Colwyn invites Ergo to travel with him. He accepts when he sees a Cyclops, Bernard Bresslaw, in the woods. The beast terrorizes Lisa with more talk of marriage. Einar leads the crew into a canyon that is crawling with robbers. The robbers attack and include Torquil, Alan Armstrong, who is the leader, Keegan, Liam Neeson, and Ruin, Robbie Coltrane. The men have manacles on their wrists as they are escaped prisoners. Colwyn and Einar try to convince the men to help him fight. Oswin, Todd Carty, agrees to join the quest. Colwyn pulls out a key and unlocks Oswin's manacles. Torquil is amazed, saying only the king and his Lord Marshal have the key to the lock.
But I will go with you.
Boy, shames you all.
Only the king and the Lord Marshal have the keys to these manacles. You don't look like a Lord Marshal.
No. Look about the right age to be Turtle's son, eh? Exact age.
Torquil agrees to go with the king, but he will keep his manacles until they succeed. The Cyclops watches the larger group from a distance. A Slayer is about to attack Ergo. The Cyclops throws his spear and kills the enemy. Einar explains that the Cyclopses were from another world. They made a deal with the beast. They gave up one eye in exchange for the ability to see the future. The beast only gave them the ability to see the time of their own death. The group continues on for a time before Colwyn, Einar, Torquil, and Ergo go forward alone. Einar goes to a solid rock face and is invited inside by the blind Emerald Seer, John Welsh. The cave of the seer is full of emeralds. Yinar asks about the location of the Black Fortress, but tells that the vision will be opposed. Ergo makes friends with the seer's child assistant, Titch, Graham McGrath. The seer spins his emerald as he looks for the location. The hand of the beast reaches from far away to destroy the emerald and the vision before the location of the fortress can be revealed. After the winds die down, the seer says he can give the fortress's location if he goes to the Emerald Temple. The seer agrees to go with the group through a very dangerous swamp. The Emerald Temple is located in the center of the swamp. Deep in the swamp, Colwyn and his band of fighters are ambushed by a large group of slayers. A spear thrown by the Cyclops forces one group back. Torquil's men put up a good fight. Ergo approaches the Cyclops and learns that his name is Rel. The slayers are defeated. The group continues into the swamp. At the Black Fortress, Lisa continues to look for an escape. She is finally confronted by the hideous beast. Back in the swamp, the beast turns the path into quicksand. As they work to pull the men out of the quicksand, a seer is left alone. Colwyn risks his life to try and save one of the men. A changeling is sent by the beast to kill and replace the seer. The changeling hides the body in the swamp. Torquil leads the seer as Titch and Colwyn lead the group forward. Rel, who has remained behind, sees the dead body of the seer rise from the quicksand. The fake seer says Colwyn must lead him into the Emerald Temple. Rel runs through the swamp as the fake seer starts to kill Colwyn. Between the spear and Colwyn's sword, the changeling is killed. Yinar tells that there may be another that can help them find the Black Forest. He says he will consult with the Widow of the Web. Torquil replies that anyone who goes there will die. Yinar says that he knows her true name and she may help him. The group continues towards the Widow of the Web's location. They are all riding except Rel. Yinar goes into the cave alone. The rest of the group settle down to camp. Keegan recruits one of his many wives, Marith, Claire McIntyre, who lives nearby to feed the group. Marith has brought a displaced woman with her. In the Black Forest, Lisa is still being tormented by the beast. She finds a view of the outside. The beast takes on the form of Colwyn, but with red eyes. The beast shows the displaced woman trying to seduce Colwyn. She changes and has the chance to kill Colwyn, but she does not because Colwyn has been faithful. The beast kills his changeling.
You have chosen a paltry kingdom on an insignificant planet.
And love.
Love is fleeting. Power is eternal. And you think there's love in your boy, King?
He will not.
I can't betray my bride.
Then he will die.
Let me comfort you.
I can't accept comfort when she has none.
You will not then.
I cannot.
My master said, make him betray, if not kill him.
'Tis you who are betrayed. Power is fleeting. Love is eternal.
He tells Lisa that if she accepts him, the killing will stop. Yinar enters the cave, which contains a giant spider web. The Widow of the Web, Francesca Annis, says if he enters, he will die. Yinar begins climbing the web. A giant translucent spider begins making its way to kill him. He calls out the widow's true name, which is also Lisa, and the spider stops. When she recognizes who is coming, she turns an hourglass and gives him time to make it to her location in the center of the web. The widow is old, and Yinar says his responsibilities forced him away, although he loved her. The widow says that she killed their son when he was born. She has to live inside the web as punishment. Yinar did not know about the child, and he says he forgives.
We had a son.
But you said nothing. Where is he?
I killed him when he was born. And this is my punishment.
My son.
Yes. Since I could not kill you, my rage needed a victim. I know you can never forgive me.
I cannot forgive myself. I have already forgiven you.
Yinar sees her as young and beautiful as she once was. The widow foresees that the Black Fortress will be in the Iron Desert the next day. Yinar tells of Colwyn and Lisa and the peril of Krull. The widow breaks the hourglass that is her life force. She gives Einar a handful of sand. It will protect him from the spider, but his life will run out when he drops the last grain. Einar makes it out, and the widow is killed by the spider. He makes it back to the camp and gives Colwyn the location before dropping the last sand and dying. Einar's last words remind Colwyn to use the power of the glaive wisely. Colwyn and Torquil are considering how they can travel 1,000 leagues to the Iron Desert. Rel says that the fire mares can travel that far in the time limit. The Black Forest moves to its new location, leaving the band 24 hours to complete their mission. A large herd of Clydesdale horses is running through a draw. Colwyn and the company trap them and have the transportation they need. Rel refuses to ride with the group, saying his time of death was near. The horses have fire flying from their hooves as they run at great speed. The horses can also fly, so that helps. The group arrives at the Black Fortress. Colwyn group scales the fortress, fighting slayers as they go. They have to get inside the fortress before the sun rises. Rel is seen in the distance riding a fire mare towards the fortress. Ruin is killed by a slayer shot. He says it was worth the trip. Rel climbs past the group and leads them onward. He holds open a door of the fortress, but at the cost of his own life. With the group inside, the Black Forest moves to a new location. One of Torquil's men is shot and killed. They lose another crossing a bridge. Keegan is killed, saving Colwyn. A trap door separates Ergo and Titch from the group. Ergo turns himself into a tiger and fends off a group of slayers. Colwyn finds a room where Lisa is imprisoned. He uses the glaive, but he has a hard time cutting through. Torquil, Oswin, and another man are trapped in a room with spikes protruding from all surfaces. The spikes start moving in on the group, but seem to stop when they are not in a particular part of the room. Lisa and Colwyn are reunited. She tells that the beast must be fought away from the center. Colwyn uses the glaive to seal the beast inside and to make their escape. However, the beast immediately breaks out. He and Colwyn begin fighting. It's a glaive versus energy bolts from the mouth of the beast. The fight is pretty even. Finally, the glaive strikes the beast in the chest and the monster goes down. Colwyn cannot retrieve the glaive from the beast's chest. Thinking he has won, Colwyn goes forward to retrieve the glaive. The beast is alive and keeps the glaive. Lisa tells Colwyn that the power is him and not the glaive. He then realizes it is the pair of them. They complete the ceremony and he takes the fire from her hand.
The glaive is gone. I have no way to fight him.
Colwyn, it's not the glaive, it's you.
Now listen, it's us. It's us he can't defeat. It will not return to me except from the hand of the woman I choose as my wife.
I give it only to the man whom I choose as my husband. Take the fire from my hand.
Colwyn wears the beast out with his flamethrower hand. The fire is so intense, it kills the beast. The spikes in the room retract. Lisa and Colwyn head out to find the other survivors. The fortress starts breaking apart. Torquil and Oswin reunite with the prince and princess. The group goes looking for Ergo and Titch. After they find them, Colwyn uses the fire to burn an exit through the wall of the fortress. They make it outside before the destroyed fortress is sucked back into space.
Ergo! Ergo! He'll be all right.
You are his queen?
Yes.
Then we won.
Yes.
Oh, boy. I should have stuck to puppies. Oh.
Colwyn gives a key to Torquil, the key to the manacles he is wearing. Torquil says he will keep wearing them as a reminder of their journey. Colwyn tells him to keep the key, to which Torquil replies that only the king and his lord marshal have that key. Colwyn replies, "That's right."
The key's yours.
Only the king and his lord marshal carry this key.
That's right.
Einar's voice says a girl of ancient name shall choose a king, and they will rule Krull. Their son will rule the galaxy. Conclusion. As a result of the poor performance of this film, the sequel with their son was never made. This is an exciting story, and the special effects were pretty well done for the time of release. While the film did not initially make a lot of money, it has a strong following. To illustrate this, the glaive was one of the weapons used during the final battle sequence in Ready Player One 2018. It's a fun movie with a good soundtrack and some actors who would do big things. World famous short summary: a guy goes to extremes to marry the girl of his dreams. The show is now completely free and independent, brought to you without ads. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and leave a review where you get your podcast. It really helps the show get found. As a technical note, references and citations are listed for each show on the site at classicmovierev.com. Beware the Moors.